Hello and welcome to episode 430 of the Mark and Me podcast. As always, I'm your host Mark. Now, today's guest doesn't need a big introduction. One of the biggest, most incredible frontmen of any band in the history of music. I don't say that lightly. I'm joined today by Robb Flynn from the awesome Machine Head. Yes, you heard that right. What a band, what a singer. One of the greatest ever to do it, and he is so much fun. I love today's interview, and I can't wait to share it with you in just a couple of minutes' time. But on Mark and Me, if you've ever listened to an episode ever before, you will know on each and every episode, I always like to use the intro just to quickly touch base and talk about my previous episode. And my God, this episode blew up massively, so I can't ignore it. I was joined by the amazing Justine Jones from the awesome Employed to Serve. We got to talk all about the band's album Fallen Star, and my God, this interview went insane. Thanks so much to everyone that listened, tuned in. It meant the absolute world and was one of my favourite interviews that I've ever done. So thanks to Justine and Employed to Serve and everyone that listened. But today it's all about Machine Head. My God, I've loved this band for so many years, a guest that I've wanted on for so long, and now we're here. The band have just, as you're listening to this, brought out a brand new album called Unatoned, which is absolutely brilliant. Me and Rob get to talk about that loads on today's interview, and I can't wait to see their headline set at Bloodstock in August this year. It's going to be mind-blowing. But anyway, enough from me. Let's get to the interview. So here's me and Rob talking all things Machine Head. So Rob, thanks for joining me today on the Mark and Me podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
It's an absolute honour. Truly, dude, I've been doing the podcast, I think we just said off air, for 8 years, and I had a list of names that I always wanted on the podcast. And when I started, your name was right up there, and it's I always believe everything's about timing, and I've seen you at Bloodstock, I've seen you at your own shows, but it's really nice just to have a bit of time away from a festival, one-on-one, when I can really talk to you and kind of get to know you better.
Yeah, awesome. Sick, man. So I was at Bloodstack. That's awesome. The most recent one or one from a
It was when you did your secret set, yeah.
shit, yeah. Oh my God. That was insane. That was so insane.
I don't know how you pulled it off. Like, the fact that this year now you can actually announce that you are playing is a lot different, and people can go with a ticket expecting to see you. But to keep that so hidden, and most bands, even at download and stuff like that, it always gets out. You know, everyone knows about it in advance. But it did feel like a secret that no one knew about.
And it was the hottest day ever. My God, it was it was weltering in that tent, but my God, it was such a good time and such a great vibe, and man,
Phenomenal.
it was quite special, especially to be the first show for us back from the pandemic.
Yeah, that must be surreal. Because I
Yeah,
thought there was a point, genuinely, dude, there was a point when I had tickets for, I think it was Alice in Chains, Biffy Clyro, and everything was cancelled. Like every gig was cancelled because of the
right,
pandemic. And then
right.
I kept thinking, don't worry, these gigs are going to be rescheduled. It'll be okay. My God, man, like for 2 years, every gig kept cancelling. And I was thinking, am I actually never going to get to see a live band ever again? It seems surreal now. People are listening thinking, well, that's 5 years ago. But there was this one moment when I thought, maybe that's it. Maybe there won't be another festival.
Yeah, it felt like that for sure.
But thank fuck we're here now and it's all good.
Yeah, 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 totally.
What I do, Rob, it doesn't matter what walk of life you've been on, if you're a small band, a huge fucking arena selling band. I always like to go back to the very start, and there will be listeners out there today that are intrigued by that first album that you may have bought or was given to you by maybe a family member, or you saved up your pocket money. But that first album that you bought that you remember coming home and reading all the booklet and, you know, that smell of a brand new cassette or tape or CD that made you absolutely love music.
Well, it was three records all at the same time. And me and my friend Lisa got them together jointly. And her mom took us to the record store and like we bought it. And so it was Van Halen one.
Oh, wow.
It was Duran Duran, uh, the record with Hungry Like the Wolf. And then it was Devo, We Are Not Men. And so these are the first records that like we just listened to these three records nonstop, 10 times a day, every single day, come home after school and I'd go to her place because she had the better record player. And I mean, we were just like kids listening to these records. And I remember like even now to this day, like those three records are three of my favorite albums. Like the Duran Duran thing was like kind of this new, fresh, crazy sound, like very poppy, but like great, great songs. And Devo was just so weird and strange, and like Whip It was the big song off of that, but it had some like
Huge.
it had a fantastic cover of the Rolling Stones Can't Get No Satisfaction. And I just remember like I loved the original Rolling Stones version, and then I heard that cover and I was like, this is so weird, but I really love it. And so that version became a favorite of mine. And then Van Halen was like, I mean, it was like a bomb dropped. Like the two of us, like, I remember her mom bought a new refrigerator and it came in a giant box. And so me and Lisa like took like each portion of the box and like cut out guitars. And then we took
Oh,
a
that's
pen and like
awesome.
drew guitars and we'd sit there and like air guitar like in her mirror, like playing guitar to the Van Halen records. And so yeah, I mean, these records I mean, they just changed my life. And even now, all these years later, are still very near and dear to me.
They're really cool albums as well. Like interviewing so many bands, sometimes I think some people change their choice to try and sound cool because they're not like, oh, the first one I bought was a really shitty album. But you've got three absolute pinnacle, incredible albums that kind of built the foundations on the music you probably listen to today.
Yeah, I mean, and there was a bunch of records even before that, but these were like, there was like the soundtrack to Saturday Night Fever. I was obsessed with the Star Wars soundtrack. Like
Oh,
I must have listened to
perfect.
that Star Wars soundtrack like 150 times. Like I
Yeah.
even now, like when I hear the music, like I can like I know all the notes and I know all the little like the little viola runs and like just all that. And just like listening to music on the radio, like with my parents and stuff, because for me, I didn't have the reason I brought up those particular records is because prior to that, my parents were very much anti me listening to rock music. So because they didn't listen to rock music. And so all they listened to was like Earth, Wind and Fire, the Commodores, Chaka Khan, like so all my whole household is filled with nothing but like old soul, old R&B music, like really funky music. And Casey and the Sunshine Band and stuff like that. So that's what I hear in my house. My dad listens to like oldies, like the Boogie Woogie Company, the Boogie
Oh,
Woogie
wow.
Bugle Boy of Company B, and like
Proper
it's all like kind
oldies.
of yeah, like 1940s, like trios and stuff like that. And then my mom liked some of the happy Beatles, but they didn't want me to listen to the hippie Beatles. So, so I could listen to I
Anything
Want to
before
Hold
the
Your
drugs, son, but after that, no.
yeah, I could listen to I Want to Hold Your Hand, but I couldn't listen to, Sergeant Pepper's, which is
No.
funny because they were doing tons of drugs during I Want to Hold Your Hand. It was just speed.
So good. And then I suppose live music changed for me. I'm 43 years old. I keep thinking I'm 42. I'm 43. And one of my first gigs in Wolverhampton, I was probably about 12, was Green Day. And I knew the
Oh,
moment I
sick.
walked in that venue, it was on their Dookie tour. I was like, my parents dropped me off. It was like, meet back here. Don't be late. Don't mix with anyone. Just go and enjoy yourself. And honestly, dude, that night I got home, I was like, that's all I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to be like Green Day. I want to be performing live, but
Totally it.
it never happened, unfortunately. But it was enough to make me believe that you could become the next Billy Joe Armstrong. You could then go off, and I discovered new metal, and I'd go back to that venue only a couple of years later and see Deftones and Korn and all
Sick.
these great bands that grew from that. And I wondered if you had a great first experience of a live band, especially if your parents were a bit anti-metal, and were they kind of like, look, son, we're not going to let you go off to a decent rock gig, or were you kind of sheltered and caged away?
Funny enough, I actually saw Green Day on the Dookie tour as
Oh,
well.
dude,
They played down the street from me at the Berkeley Square to 500 people.
fuck.
And so I went and saw them on the Dookie. It was like the Dookie record release show or whatever it was. And so, fast forward like a year, and all of a sudden they were the
Yeah.
biggest band on the fucking planet. It was crazy. And they lit. This was a venue that was five blocks away from my house in Berkeley. So like I just went and saw them there. It was like where everybody played at the
And
time.
I bet
Machine
it
Head
was
played
like
there. Yeah.
$5 to get in.
Oh yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I got it for free because my band was
Yeah.
playing there just, quite regularly.
Oh, dude, that's
And
awesome.
but like I mean, the first like my parents took me to see like a bunch of the music that I don't even know if they really liked it. They just were going out to a handful of shows. So like they took me to see some country artists like Glenn Campbell. They took me to see some like TV, they kind of like variety show like performances, like what I mean, like a band from like like a US variety show.
Yeah.
And but then the first rock concert that I went and saw was that I wanted to go see was AC/DC.
Oh my
AC/DC
God.
on the For Those About to Rock tour. And so I went with my friend Lisa, and her parents took us. And I remember my mom was like, "Whatever you do, don't smoke marijuana."
Don't do drugs. Yeah.
And at the time, I had no idea what marijuana was, and I was like, "What's marijuana?" So now I'm like, look, the whole time I'm not at the concert, I'm like, "What's marijuana? I want to know what marijuana is." And I knew what cigarettes were because my dad smoked cigarettes, and
Yeah.
my Lisa's mom smoked cigarettes. But everybody's parents smoked cigarettes back then, like in the house and in the car and everywhere. I started seeing people like passing around like things that look like cigarettes, but obviously smelled a lot different. I was like, that's marijuana.
That's the one.
And now, like every time, even now, when I smell like weed at a show, like it kind of takes me back to that first AC/DC show, like kind of bringing this good memory to my head. And,
Please
and I'm
tell
like,
me you and Lisa had the cardboard cutout guitars at that AC/DC gig with
oh no,
you.
I wish. Yeah, that would have been good. That would have been great. Yeah, but it was killer. It was an awesome show. I mean, like amazing, performance, and they did the whole swinging from the bell thing, and yeah,
Unbelievable.
they had the cannons with the fucking pyro, and yeah, it was sick.
Surely it must only go downhill from there when you're starting with that much of a great band. Like AC/DC, one of the greatest live bands I've ever seen. At that age, you must have just been like, fuck, like anything I go and see now is never going to live up to that.
No, I mean, it's crazy because I think about how many shows I've gone to. Like there was a time when I was going to like probably 100 shows a year. You know what I mean? Like I was seeing I mean, I saw Alice in Chains on the first album tour to
Oh
like 30
man.
people. I saw him play to 30 people at the Omni on the debut album. I saw Soundgarden on Louder Than Love, Motorhead, like Merciful Fate. Like I saw Metallica on Ride the Lightning,
Fuck me.
like, but it was like, like those were all very different than an AC/DC show because an AC/DC show was at the arena, like it was big and they were already big. Like these were like, watching, like I said, I saw Metallica Ride the Lightning, like it wasn't huge. It was at
No.
it's a small theater called the Kabuki Theater in San Francisco. So it's not like, you know, to watch something, and in a lot of ways having pride because they're like a Bay Area band. Like I could see them at a show. Like they would be going to the same shows that they're older than me, but I'm like a gangly, annoying teenager coming up to like James Hetfield, like, dude, like sign my ticket, like or whatever. And like they're becoming, famous and they're becoming huge. And so in that sense, like I really felt I didn't feel like I was part of AC/DC, but
No,
when the
that's fair.
thrash, I was lucky enough to be a teenager in the very beginning of the thrash scene when it's just like 400 seat clubs, and I'm going to punk rock shows and I'm going to metal shows and I'm watching these bands kind of grow and I'm like right kind of there, not there with them, but like I'm watching it happen in my backyard. And I felt a connection to it that I otherwise wouldn't have felt, I don't think.
That's a fair point. I suppose there's going to be people listening today that are like, dude, you're halfway through your interview and you haven't even talked about Machine Head. And to try
Yeah,
to
whatever.
try and
Yeah.
talk about your
I'm
career.
like I'm happy to talk about all this stuff.
It's
It's
awesome. I
nice
love
to,
it, dude. I love it.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you know, to try and talk about your career over 30 years with this band, 11 albums, we could never do it justice in the time. But what I will say is following your journey since I was young, having a Machine Head t-shirt at school, at fucking school I was wearing a t-shirt of yours, to have the privilege to listen to your new album a month before anyone else. I truly believe, dude, Unatoned is, it's hard to say this because I don't want to get completely destroyed online because people are like, how fucking dare you? It's only been a month. You haven't long enough. I truly think it could be some of your best ever work. I truly believe this. I've had it on my headphones all week. Outsider and Not Long for the World sound like a band that are just wanting to show the world what they've got on their debut album. The fucking confidence, the production, the songwriting, the feel of it. It feels like you're a brand new band. It's got this energy and passion like nothing else I've heard from you guys. It's fucking awesome.
That is amazing to hear, man. Thank you. Thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
And I really wanted to kind of get inside your head and feel like you produced this album as well. And I wondered,
Yeah.
like, I'm always intrigued when people take that step and produce their own albums because I look at you like an artist and I think if you're sitting there painting a picture like you're producing your album, how do you find the mental strength to know when a song is finished and how do you know when you're able to say, look, that's it now. I'm not going to get the brush out and add any more strokes. I'm not going to do any more painting. This has to be the final track. Because as a producer, dude, you must want to keep on polishing or keep adding bits. And I just wondered how you find that kind of balance to say, enough's enough now and I need to take a step back and let it breathe.
I mean, I got some great guys around me.
Yeah.
I've got Zach is my co-producer. Zach's produced the last, 3 records with me. And so him and I have a great relationship. Colin Richardson and Chris Clancy, they're guys, those are the guys who are mixing the album. So they, have their own thing too. Um, but like I do think that there's just a point when that it's done, like sometimes, I mean, I can just tell like, like I'll record, I'm a big freestyle guy. Like the way
Yeah.
that I record is really like I freestyle a lot. I mean, I write lyrics all the time and then I go in and I'll lay like 3 sheets of paper out in front of me and I'm like Rain Man, like reading like one sentence like off of there, like,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of putting it together and then I just let it go and I see kind of what works and try a few different things. And usually like after about a week, if it sucks, like it'll just start to get under my skin and I'm like, oh my God, this part sucks. Like I gotta change this. And but on the same token, I'm very lucky in that for the last 2 albums now, I've had my own studio, and so
Yeah.
I've got my own recording studio, and it's right down the hallway from the main studio that I recorded, the Blackening and my last album and everything. So if I ever need to even go there, I can. But there's like you always hear about a band puts out a demo and there's this intensity and this energy and then they re-record the album and somewhere along the way like things get lost, right? Like because it's like when you're recording the demo, like sometimes you don't even know what you're doing, right? Like you're just kind of making it up on the spot and
Yeah.
there's this new freshness to it and and then certainly in the old days, we would do a lot of demos. And so by the time we got to the final album, we probably recorded that songs like 4 times, 3 or 4 times. And since I had my studio now, I, you record that first thing, and then that first thing a lot of the time becomes the album. So the demo becomes the album now, and there's songs on this record where I recorded the guitar parts one time and I never looked back. I was like, that's it. I recorded the vocals. There's the last song on the record, Scorn. That's 2 vocal takes that made that whole song. I wrote the lyrics that morning, recorded them that day, and when I was done I was like, wow, like I that was just crazy, and I knew that that was it. And sometimes, and to me, that it's like, if you're so lucky to catch that lightning in a bottle, it just makes the energy and the intensity and the urgency of the record just so frantic. And like, like, because you're not thinking about it, you know what I mean? Like, you're not in your head going, oh, I need to hit this note, or I need to, like, you're just trying to feel it out, like you're just trying to. And I think that that's such a huge part of, music that can get overlooked, like the idea of making things perfect. To me, it's perfect because it's imperfect,
Yeah,
like, and
I'm there, dude. Like the best bands that I listen to are bands that are giving me a performance that's captured onto record. I don't need to hear 16 overdubs of a guitar, put through loads of filters, put loads of plugins, and then when I go and see them live, I'm like, oh shit, this doesn't sound anything like the record. Like
right,
this is
right.
really weak. Like this is not the band I just listened to on the way here. But if you can capture that organic, real, raw performance, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Because you're capturing something there that's real. Otherwise, you might as well just sit there and mic up a drum kit and use a sample pad and recreate something that just sounds fucking
Yeah,
incredible, but it's not really
yeah,
you then, is it? It's not from the heart.
yeah. So it was really, I found that doing this that way, really, I really enjoy it. I really like it. And like I said, I don't want to take all the credit, because those guys do
Yeah.
definitely give me a lot of direction. And hey, like, or just even just taking a break. Sometimes you just got to take a break from what you're doing and like come back to it. So, you know, yes, but I really appreciate you saying those words. I played the record for my friend Mike Schleibaum from Darkest Hour, and he
Nice.
was just like, he's like, how are you so mad all these years later? He's like, this record sounds like it's you against the fucking world, dude. Like, he's like, what do you got to prove, Rob? And I was like, I don't know, like,
That's why I
that's
said it
I
sounded
just
like a band that's leaving their mark on the industry. You could easily put this, if I didn't know anything about you and someone just gave me this CD, I'd be like, this is a band's debut. Like, you're really fucking up for it. You're really, I don't know, it's just making a statement. And I think a lot of bands, I adore bands. I love the way they evolve. I love that a band that can keep going for 30 years and still enjoy what they do. But sometimes it doesn't feel authentic. It feels like it's a job and they just want to get another album out there and get touring and just go through the cycle. But this sounds different, dude. This sounds like maybe it's the passion behind it. Maybe it's in your comfort of your own studio. Maybe it's no producer prodding you and telling you how to sound or what's got to be radio friendly. You're just doing what you want, surrounded by these people
sure,
that you
for sure.
trust and love. And it's work, dude. Like the mastering of it, the whole production. Fair play to those guys and the team around you. You've got something special, and I can't wait to hear them live. Like I know it's not too long now for us to sit here and wait to see you at obviously Bloodstock, and it's not a top secret set this time, so you can turn up. And
Right.
I hope you can get a
Right.
lot of
Talk
these,
about it. Yeah.
I hope you can get a lot of these tracks into the set list, or you know,
I
because
know, right? Like, we're so like, we're not sure like what songs we're gonna play, because we're like, the record's not out. You know, like, people want to hear the classics because they're at a festival,
yeah,
and we're just like, but we're like, we really are proud of these new songs.
yeah.
We want to play them for you.
But it's also a great way to piss off a lot of fans if you're like, here's 6 songs off the new album, and that
I know, I
means
know. I went to a show the other day and they did that, and I was just like, "Where's the old song?" I don't want to be that guy, but like, I get it. Like, I totally get it.
How does it feel at the moment, knowing that obviously you recorded this at your Sharkbite Studios? Is that the right name?
Yeah.
Which is awesome. You've taken real good time on it, writing, while being on the road, and then spending a good year making sure that you get these, demos into songs. Do you feel nervous knowing that the release date is coming and it's like a countdown? Do you still, even though it's 11 albums and you've got this fucking awesome band, do you still sit there like, oh, I hope people get it. I hope people love it. I hope people are proud and happy of this, or is it
I mean,
beyond that now?
I'm not nervous. I'm just impatient.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if it were up to me, the record would be online today. Like,
Yeah.
I would just be like, put it up. Like, don't like, we're this whole like this period from the record being done to the record coming out is the part of making a record that drives me batshit crazy because it's
Yeah.
like trying to talk about music, like trying to use words to describe sound. And I have gotten better at it in my, time doing records, but it drives me nuts because it's like, I think music's just such a personal thing. Like I can say, it doesn't matter what I say, like it's like, I just feel like until you hear what we did, like you're either going to connect with it or you're not. You know what I mean? Like, because I think so much of music is like a moment in time. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like even if you loved Machine Head, you know, I don't expect everybody to connect with it. Like sometimes music is just such a personal. It helps you through this moment you're going through, or it's an amazing moment. Like the first, like so many people lost their virginity to the blackening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that record's always going to be this incredibly special record because, like one of the best things that ever happened to him happened. And so,
Yeah.
and so I get it, and so to me, it's like, like even if the songs on this record don't connect with you right now, that's that's totally fine because there was so many songs and so many albums the first time that I heard them, like they just didn't connect with me. They didn't hit, they didn't whatever. And then like a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, like I listened to that album and I was like, oh my God, like this is the fucking best music I've ever, like, how did I not get this the first time I heard this? Like maybe you're just in the wrong headspace, or maybe you don't have time, like sometimes life gets in the way, man. But like
I think you
this
grow as
music, this,
well. Yeah, I think you mature or you evolve as a human. And I'm 43, but I'm just picking a band off the top of my head. There's so many I could go into, but the first time I heard In Utero by Nirvana, I was like, oh, this isn't what I like. I like the polished sound. I like Come As You Are. I like the choruses. This is too
right,
muddy. This
right,
is too messy for me. And then as I grew
right.
older and I kept hearing the name Steve Albini, I was like, oh, okay, so I can hear that he wants to create, like we've talked about today, actually, a captured performance. And then I went back and I was like, actually, I'm going to listen to that album again. And I was like, oh, fuck, like, this is
It's
better than
genius.
Nevermind. This
It's
is
fucking, yeah, it's
fucking
genius.
incredible.
Yeah. It's so raw and just
And I was like,
sloppy and
now I'm
it's
ready for it. And that's the best thing about being a fucking huge lover of music is no music has an expiry date. And, the best music I've ever heard is stuff like Jeff Buckley, and
right.
that's so long ago that I can never experience it live, but it's left a mark like a diary entry for that time. And if you find it now, or there's kids that I work with at college that talk to me about Jeff Buckley like he's just come out, and I'm like, how
Right.
wonderful
Right.
is it that these albums, maybe in 20 years, someone says, Unatoned by Machine Head is the greatest album, but I didn't like it when I first heard it. But after a
Yeah.
few years, it clicked, and
Yeah.
I broke up with my missus, and I heard this song, and I was like, fuck me,
Right.
Dust Maker's the greatest song ever, and I'm like, how cool is that?
Totally. Totally. Yeah. I mean, I sit there and like it trips me out because there's so many bands out right now that are like really, you know, really paying a lot of respect to like the Burn My Eyes era of Machine Head. Like bands are covering Davidian like crazy and
Yeah,
covering songs off that record. Like band called Tsunami. They're opening with Desire to Fire. They're from the Davidian. Like they're the Dynamo '95 thing. And I'm just like, it's crazy to me that like that they're kind of rediscovering this music that we did 30 years ago, and it's awesome. And so, I'm just trying to do my thing and trying to stay, like the one thing that I am very proud of about this record, because I really think that, you know, I think one of the hardest things is to kind of find your own lane,
yeah.
and to just like do it. And we've kind of made the lane go this way, and we've kind of made the lane go this way, and kind of just spread it out a little bit. But it really is like our own lane, and we kind of exist, and for a while it was like weird because we didn't really fit with everybody. So kind of being an outsider was like this weird bad thing, but then now like, as time's gone on, it's just like you hear it and you're like, oh shit, yeah, that's Machine Head. And I'm really proud of that. Like my guys all like we know what Machine Head sounds like, and we're just out here doing our thing, man. So, come along and enjoy the ride.
I think that's really special. And the word you used, is proud, because being a lover of music since I was literally at school picking up a guitar, there's not many bands after 30 years that are still doing what they want to do. You know, you've got something really special that you're proud of. You haven't sold out and gone and done a poppy, totally, overproduced, radio friendly album just to sell records. You're still going out there with a huge fan base, headlining festivals, playing the songs you want to play, writing the songs that you feel are right, and you still to this day after 11 albums sound like Machine Head. You hear the song and you're like, that's Machine Head.
Brad, thank you, man.
So never change that, otherwise it's not worth it anymore. Dude, our time's almost up and I feel like I could talk to you for hours. It's frustrating because you get so
I know
long
we
and I'm,
should we should we should we should have made a longer podcast for sure.
yeah.
We'll have to make another. We'll have to do a part two or something.
Dude, like I've had Alex Winter, Neil Blomkamp, the film director. They've been on 3 or 4 times because we scratch the surface, we click, and I'm like, I want to do more. So let's make it happen. Let's do a part two when the time's right. Maybe when the
Fuck
album's
yeah,
been out for a bit and people have had a bit of time, and even if it's at Bloodstock and it's face to face, whatever. Let's make sure our paths cross again and we continue.
absolutely, absolutely, man.
I do have one final question for you, dude. I have to get in on it because I've
Okay.
never changed this. As the episode is all edited and ready for the world to listen to, Rob, one song is played at the very end. I'll put snippets from the new album, but one song is played at the very end. Now, I've asked this to Anthony Hopkins, Kevin Smith, Kat Von D, Deftones. You get to choose a song that's played at the very end of the episode that means a lot to you. Not by Machine Head, just a song that you absolutely love, and it's the one that comes to your heart and soul before any other. I know it's tricky. I'm an arsehole for putting you on the spot.
Oh
I've
no, no,
never
not tricky
changed
at
it, and
all.
it's so wonderful then to hear the reason why that song came to your heart.
My it's probably my favorite song of all time.
Oh wow.
Uh, Jimi Hendrix, Little Wing.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I mean, first of all, it's like it's a guitar masterclass.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the sexiest chords and the most amazing key changes and one of the most soulful guitar solos ever played by anybody anywhere. Um, and it's also a song that my wife and I walked down the aisle to when we got
Oh,
married.
beautiful.
I played an instrumental version of that song with no vocals. It was just the music, and that's what she walked down the aisle to. And so, yeah, that song holds an incredibly, special place in my heart, and everybody should hear this song.
Well, what's nice is at the end of the episode, I always play not just a clip, I play the whole song. So it's going to be perfect, and
Oh,
you can't
awesome.
get a better reason for it being your wedding song, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right, I have to say goodbye because the next person will probably want to talk to you, and I don't want to be that person that makes every interview late. But thank you for coming on the podcast. It's been worth the 7-year wait of getting you on, and I really wish you all the luck with the new album, and I will make it happen. I will speak to management, and we will get a part 2. So when the fans are listening now, they can know that it won't be too long away.
Awesome, man. Yeah, thanks for having me. That was killer.
Take care.
Take it easy.
So there's my interview with me and Rob. What an amazing guy. I think we had great chemistry instantly. We hit it off. And as you heard on that episode, I'm going to hold him to this. We're going to do a part 2. Half an hour was great, but I feel like we just scratched the surface. And hopefully we can do something at Bloodstock. If not, maybe we do another second part like we did with this part for you all very soon, because I absolutely adored this interview, and my God, I love Machine Head, and there's so much we haven't covered, but in the time we had, I felt it went so well. I'm so proud of it, and I hope that you guys at home that are listening right now have enjoyed that interview as much as me. As I said at the start of today's interview, the band have just released Unatoned, their brand new studio album. It's phenomenal. Go and listen, go and buy it, and if you live in the UK, go and see their headline slot at the amazing Bloodstock Festival. I can't wait for that in the summer. Me and my good friend Scott are going to be there, hopefully doing loads of press, loads of interviews, and my God, it's just going to be a huge celebration of the best music out there. Before I go, I want to say that if you've enjoyed today's episode, please keep sharing these episodes. I see more numbers and more downloads each and every week, but that's only if you keep on sharing these episodes. I'll never charge for these podcasts, never. But what I do ask is you to hit that share button on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whatever you use. Anyone that you know that listens to good music, just say, hey, do you like Machine Head? Of course I do. Well, go and listen to Mark and me because he interviews Robb Flynn this week. That could lead to them going and listen to it. They go and tell their friends, and they tell their friends, and then they tell their friends. If you guess the film that quote is from, I will send you a pin badge. But joking aside, genuinely, please tell everyone. It really goes a long way, and you will be surprised just how many people discover Mark and me from your retweets or shares on Facebook. Also, I want to say a massive thanks to Kirsten for making this interview happen. You have helped Mark and me so much. I'm forever in debt with you. I love you to bits, and thank you so much for making this one happen again. And thank you so much for bringing these amazing guests to Mark and me, and I hope I do you proud each and every week. Also, a big shout out to the 2 sponsors for Mark and me. Firstly, Richer Sounds. If you want to get yourself some headphones or a brand new stereo to listen to bands like Machine Head, go on richersounds.com or visit any of their high street stores. And secondly, if you love art prints and collectibles and they're all licensed, go on vicepress.com and use the code MarkandMe10 to get yourself 10% off anything from their incredible range. Right, I'm not slowing down anytime soon. What I am going to say is that the next guest is going to be absolutely huge, and then another huge guest. It's all going on right now on Mark and Me, and I'm getting really excited because we're getting into festival season, which is going to be so busy and bring you loads of podcasts. So what I am going to say is thanks for listening. Go and listen to Machine Head. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you all very soon.
Circus mind that's running wild. Butterflies and zebras and moonbeams and fairy tales. That's all she ever thinks of. Riding with the wind. When I'm sad, she comes to me with 1,000 smiles. She alright.